I interviewed Darian, the Clash of Clans community manager, and asked him your questions. We did go way over time because there were so many questions submitted, but a lot of update information, and I have put video chapters so you can skip or review any sections you wish. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel then, guys. I'm your host, Judo Sloth, joined today by community manager Darian. Thank you for joining us.
You know, Judo, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Pleasure is all mine. So let's just dive straight into this, Darian. Town Hall 14, you mentioned in the Reddit AMA that there would be a Town Hall 14 this year, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. What can you tell us about Town Hall 14?
Are you telling me that I'm a horse?
I thought you were going to say that. Figure of speech, my friend.
Fine. Am I that predictable now? No. Yes, Town Hall 14 will be coming this year. As far as when this year, well, you just have to wait for the official announcement on that. We're not ready to give those details yet. We are excited to show you what we've been working on for this. When I say that it is coming this year, I don't want this to be like the official announcement that Town Hall 14 is coming. It's kind of like one of our worst kept secrets whenever we work on a new Town Hall. Pretty much, we've been saying that we want to do a new Town Hall every 18 months, or like within a time span of 18 months. It's been almost 18 months. So it stands to reason that Town Hall 14 is coming within that time span.
Awesome. I like to hear it. And I know you said you're not ready to release any more details, but I can prod and poke a little bit.
Okay.
The new Town Hall weapon, there's a lot of speculation. Will it be the Giga Eagle, Giga Expo? Can you give us any insight? Are you going down that route, or are you just not ready to share yet?
Not ready to share that just yet. One of the things that we're looking at is weaponizing the Town Hall was the signature thing for Town Hall 12. With Town Hall 13, we added the scatter shot, and then converting it to the Inferno, the Giga Inferno, was more of a, okay, what do we do with the Giga Tesla now that we're Town Hall 13? With Town Hall 14, and this is not a confirmation or anything, it's one of the questions that we're asking on the development team is, does it need to change with each Town Hall? Like, can we keep it Giga Tesla or Giga Inferno for Town Hall 14 and just add more levels and focus on other new signature defenses for Town Hall 14? Or is it something that, the community's come to expect where, they expect a new defense every Town Hall level? And if that's the case, is that truly, really sustainable? Because after we add a Giga Inferno, even if we add like a Giga Eagle, what's after that? A Giga Scatter Shot? And that, is that even fun or challenging? It doesn't stand to reason that it's automatically safe to assume that each new Town Hall level will have a new signature defense weapon.
Yeah. And I'd been asking myself the same question, so I figured that was definitely a thought within the team. So we'll just have to wait and see. Before we move from Town Hall 14, sounds like there's not, but is there anything else you would like to share?
Is there anything I would love to share everything. I'm like the Tom Holland of the Clash team, where he's always giving spoilers behind like the Avengers script and all the different Marvel movies. Like I love. I'm the worst at Christmas. I love spoiling stuff.
Thought that was Eno's job.
His are
accidental.
He did one slip, and then the Mega Golem thing was like his intention to kind of like throw the community off as a troll answer. There is no Mega Golem.
Confirmed.
Touche. We are working on some really cool stuff for Town Hall 14. We've got a theme down for it. We've got a color palette down, and it looks really friggin' cool. We've got a few surprises that we're working on, and a few things that, a few suggestions that players have been asking, but we're doing it in a way that isn't as directly obvious. And I know that's being very cryptic and vague. And when we do announce it, I will give a much more in-depth explanation as to what I'm referring to and what that means.
Awesome. That sounds great in itself. I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that. But let's move on from Town Hall 14 then. I did get all of the questions from my YouTube channel and my Twitter page. So I've kind of themed them together because there were a lot of questions. And there was actually a lot on the builder base. So what's the plans for Builder Base? Are there any plans currently?
Yes and no. It's not going anywhere. We're not getting rid of it. We would love to add more content. We don't have anything on the production roadmap right now. That doesn't mean we can't add something to it very quickly. So we don't have Builder Hall 10 planned, although we have been talking about it. And what we're really surprised by is the sheer number of people who've been wanting more builder-based content. Over the last, it's been how long since we added Builder Hall 9, and we're trying to think of more ways where not necessarily force people to level to Builder Hall 10, but find ways to bridge the interactivity behind builder-based and the town and the main village. So we really liked how, the 6th builder worked. That doesn't mean like if we do new content, that doesn't mean like you have to maximize Builder Hall 10 just to get, whatever new feature. But we just like how that synergy worked between the two, how, it gave benefits to both. You got a 2nd builder for builder base, or you got a 6th builder for the home village. And we kind of liked how that worked. We do want to add more content to builder base. We've got a couple ideas and a few tie-in ideas for future content. And again, I have to be really cryptic about this because we've got some really, really, as I said last year, we've got some really big content planned for this year. 2021 is going to be a banner year for Clash of Clans. We've got some stuff that is just going to blow your mind. We're still looking at ways of tying it all together, and hopefully Builder Base can fit into that puzzle.
That sounds awesome. And I would agree on the 6th builder. I think it was a really good addition. There's something coming up later on that does tie into that a little bit, but there were a couple of sub-questions to the builder base. One person asked about the season bank loot. There's none for the builder base. Is that something you would or wouldn't consider?
It's been brought up on the team. It's been a while since it's been brought up on the team, so I can't recall what the answer was. It could have been as flippant as we just don't have time to do it. I hate being this droll. It could just be like one of the devs didn't really see a point to it yet. Given that, you only get how many loot attacks per day, is there really point? And given that once you hit max, there's nothing to spend that loot on. What happens with that season bank if you're just constantly banking all the time? Because the loot, how people accumulate loot and how much loot they get in builder base side is much different than how you do it on the home village side. With the home village, you can just keep attacking for loot more and more and more. So it stands to reason why there would be a season bank. But with the builder base side, because there's a hard limit on how much you can earn per day, we felt like the season bank didn't really add that much value. If that were to change, then maybe. Or if there were loot sinks on the builder base side, then maybe. But for now, it's just not something that's in the works.
Sounds good. I would probably add to that as well, because you've already said Builder Hall 10 is not on the roadmap, so it doesn't sound like there's any major urgency to bring in loot either, so people probably aren't at a disadvantage in that regard. Right. The other question on the builder base was skins and sceneries. Can we expect these for the builder base in the future?
Probably not. Let me caveat that. So as far as skins, the builder machine is not a 3D model like the heroes are on the home village. So the chances of getting a battle machine skin are pretty slim. So that would be a no on the scenery as well, because the background on the builder base side is not 3D like we converted the scenery on the home village side. When we converted the home village background to 3D a few months ago, I think it was back when we re-added the waterfall. It was with the intention in mind that we were going to be adding sceneries in a future update. We just haven't done that on the builder base side.
Interesting. Okay. That was all the main questions we had on the builder base, and unsurprisingly, there was also quite a few questions on super troops, but it was mainly with regards to, would you ever add this super troop or this one? So what are the plans for super troops, and how often do you hope to add a new super troop?
With the introduction of super troops, it allowed us to add a greater variety of new troops at a higher cadence than creating a brand new troop from scratch. And as our update history has shown, we introduce new troops very rarely. The last one being the Headhunter, the one before that was the Yeti, and then the Electro Dragon before that. So, and that's been over the last 3.5 years. Yeah. It's when we introduce a permanent troop, the balance testing is much more stringent and strict. We have to make sure that there's a niche role that this particular troop is trying to fulfill. The same thing goes for spells. Spells we introduce even less frequently. Like we did the invisibility spell, and then the last one we did that was the bat spell. With super troops, because they're basically modifications of existing troops, it's easier to play around with their existing balance and just kind of tweak their abilities a little bit. So we have the liberty and freedom to introduce new super troops at a higher frequency or more often than we do with a brand new troop. So we've been having a lot of fun. We've been prototyping some new stuff. Eventually, our goal is to get a super troop for every single troop. That doesn't mean we'll get through all of them first before we add a second round of different super troops. For example, we may not see a super headhunter before we see a second type of like super barbarian or something. It all depends on what captures our inspiration at the moment. And we're working on it. We're playtesting a few of them right now. We've got plans of introducing hopefully a few of them this year. It just boils down to, are they fun? Are they balanced? Is this something that players will find a use for without absolutely destroying the meta kind of thing?
That sounds fun. If troops are newer to the game, it doesn't bring as big of a wow factor, I would feel, rather than the barbarian, who people have, used for years and years. So it makes sense to bring a little bit more light and a little bit more hype to the older troops.
That and introducing a brand new troop, like a unique troop, is a singular and significant event within Clash of Clans. Like it's not something that happens very often, where super troops, while introducing a new one, is still, it feels like a brand new troop because it's something that, has never been in game before. It's still a modification of an existing troop. So it's much easier for us to, kind of keep things a little more humble. But there's things that players are familiar with. Like when we introduced the Super Witch, people are already familiar with how the witch works. So it's something that players can already relate to rather than being on unfamiliar ground. Like when we introduced the Headhunter, it's like, okay, this is a troop that does what? Having players being able to relate to it does make an impact on how accepted it is at first.
Yeah, just making sure you don't overwhelm players, I guess. Sounds cool.
We try to reduce the complexity, we try to keep things simple. And that's one of our kind of north stars.
Good answer. I'm glad to hear that on Super Troops. I personally love them. So
what's your favorite Super Troop?
My favorite? Warbreaker, all day long.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that is the pro player pick, isn't it?
I think it probably has the most use case.
Okay.
Following that, I would say the Sneaky Goblins, but I do like the Barbarians and Archers more so for the fact of what we were just talking about, that I don't use the Barbarians and Archers very much. So when I do find a use case for them, it allows me to use troops that I don't really use too often.
Okay.
So the next main theme that people were asking about, unsurprisingly, I'm sure for yourself, was the recruitment system. There was a lot of questions on it, and I know you've answered this in previous interviews, but I did want to include it because it was asked a lot. Some of the questions I will be asking coming up, you've also answered, but I feel like if it is asked by the community a lot, let's go for it. So can you give a bit of an overview as to how the recruitment system works for transparency, and then if there's something that you're looking to improve?
Well, it depends. Like when you say how it works, you're going to have to be a little more specific than that.
So I think most people were asking, why do I get these players? It doesn't have my language, it doesn't have my town hall, I can't search for a specific town hall level. And I think a lot of it, in my opinion, is to do with the fact that people can't toggle settings like you can when you're searching for a clan. So I think just a little bit of why do they get thrown these players?
Okay, I see what you mean. One of the interesting things about the recruitment tool is that it does a lot of the things players want, and this is something that I've said quite a few times. It does a lot of things that players want. Unfortunately, it does behind the scenes, so it does feel like there is a lack of control when you're not getting the results you want and you don't know why. And I can understand where that frustration comes from, and it does feel like, okay, well, this isn't what I wanted. One of the big points of feedback we got is people getting players who are already in clans. There's understand a kind of a social awkwardness of trying to poach people from other clans. Like, I don't want to send a message to someone who's already in a clan, just give me someone who isn't in a clan. One of the difficulties behind that is that over 80% of players are already in clans. That means less than 20% who are clanless. If you want to look at purely at Town Hall level, many of the clanless players are Town Hall 4 and below. Basically, they're people who maybe started the game, didn't join a clan, and maybe stopped playing. So that means the number of clans who are looking for clanless players far outnumbers the number of clanless players looking for clans. In other words, the demand far outstrips the supply. So if we were to basically say, like, we want you to just look for clanless players, it would be a constant tug of war between all these clans that are looking for these players. Clanless players would get bombarded with the request. And especially how many times have you gotten a request from a player looking to join a clan, but when you accept their invite, you get the message that they're already in a clan.
Yeah.
Like that's a common theme. And it's because that this demand far outstrips the supply. And it is frustrating because clanless players have a far easier time to look for clan than clans who are looking for players. And this is just a reality. We can't change this ratio. On this particular search result, it's more about managing expectation. The reason why we allow players to ping or send requests to players who are already in clans is that you never know if someone may be looking to jump ship. I know that sounds a little harsh, but that's just, if someone doesn't want an invite, they can simply turn off invite requests.
Yeah.
But we want players to be able to reach out to anyone if they got the invites open and just send that request. And we can't change that result because like the ratio is what it is, and it's just a matter of supply and demand. Another thing, one of the requests was the badges that players select, like veteran player, clan war, stuff like that. Players should be able to earn those before they can add it to their search result kind of thing. And I understand the thought process behind it.
Yeah.
But let's say my Town Hall 13 account, it's not the clan leader of my clan. Let's say I pass that leadership to my Town Hall 7, and that mini's only been around for 2 weeks. So does that mean I don't get to choose veteran? Because I've been playing the game for 6 years now.
Yeah.
So I think I qualify as a veteran player. I may not be good, but I'm still a veteran player. Just because my Town Hall 7 mini is only 2 weeks old, that doesn't discount the fact that I've been playing for 6 years. So earning badges, it would have no impact on the search results. And we felt it just served no purpose. I can just go through a list of like the most common concerns.
What I was going to say, there were basically two main things that were brought up over and over. And it was language, coming up with people not speaking their language, and Town Hall level. And I don't know whether that was coming from the angle of, I might be a Town Hall 13, but my clan is currently recruiting Town Hall 9s if they have a variety of players, and it might be difficult to find Town Hall 9s unless you have one of your Town Hall 9 players as a co-leader to do so. So the language and the Town Hall tended to be the two main points that were brought up from my community.
There is, before we get into those two, there actually is one thing I wanted to bring up. So one of the big concerns that we got was that when someone creates a new clan, that they get 0 results.
Okay.
And I just kind of wanted to explain the reason behind that. What happens is the database, it takes a snapshot of all of the clans and accounts each day. It uses that snapshot to feed the search results. So that way it's not constantly pinging the in-game database and slowing it down. So that means like if my clan is already in existence, like let's say I created my clan yesterday, because I'm now part of that snapshot, I can search those results. But if let's say, the snapshot has already happened and then I create a new clan, I won't get results until the following day's snapshot is created, because now I'm part of that database snapshot again.
That's interesting. I never knew that. And I guess a quick question before you answered the other two.
Yep.
Does that snapshot happen the same time every day so people can expect within 24 hours? It's not like a random point in the day. Okay.
No, it is every 24 hours. But I do want to also add that this is something that but basically called the machine learning team. They're the ones who made the recruitment tool. This is something that's one of their top priorities to improve and get that snapshot time down, or get the search results time down. That way, when people create a clan, they can immediately start finding results. I know, as far as I know, that's one of the top priorities as far as like the searching system goes. When that will be implemented, I have no idea. It's a completely separate team from us. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of visibility onto a lot of stuff that they're working on. Okay.
So real quick then, because I know that the main topics were the Town Hall and the language. Are you able to address those for people?
I can address the language thing, or at least start with that. So one of the hypothetical questions that we have to ask internally is, what languages do we include? People ask, why can't we search by language? There are over 6,500 languages around the globe. We can't make a drop down for all of those. Do we only support, or do we only do it for our official in-game languages? Clash is only available on 11, or supported with 11 languages around the world. If I'm an Estonian player, which is 2 hours just across the Baltic Sea from Finland, if I'm an Estonian player, if I wanted to search for other Estonian players, how do I do that? Do I type in Estonian, or do I have a drop down for those languages? Should players be able to put a language option in their clan description, what language do you speak, and just type it in. What happens when people type it wrong? What if they use a regional spelling for that language? Because not every region spells the name of the language the exact same way. So there's a lot of logistical problems that we have to overcome. Additionally, if it's just, so how the machine learning system works is that it tries to identify what languages are being spoken in the clan, and then it tries to expand the search from there. That same goes with time zones. It looks at who's initiating a search and tries to expand it from there. Does it work all the time? To be honest, I don't know.
From my perspective, that sounds like yes, it seems like we have less control, but players will probably get much better results because of that, from what you just explained.
Again, this is kind of where I have to point to a lack of transparency in how the system works. And I think that's been one of the biggest problems with the machine learning system or recruitment tool, is that they're not, like, players just can't see how it works. Like, it's not like a Google search where you just type in, like, how do I do this in Google, and you get a list of results. That's just not how the system works. And this is where we could probably explain things a bit better. So the search function doesn't just spit out irrelevant matches, it just expands the searches when it can't fulfill certain filter parameters. So as far as like finding like the player's geography, it tries to, it does this behind the scenes, but then it expands from there when it can't find enough, or if it gets zero results.
Interesting. Yeah, and I would agree that I think just giving players that information will definitely help relieve a lot of the tension around the recruitment tool.
I created a thread on the Clash forum almost a month ago, where I wanted to have a community discussion about the recruitment tool. Like, what were genuine critiques, not just criticism or complaints, but what do they feel could be better? And I wanted to bring an actionable list with the Clash team and discuss this with the machine learning team. I guess I can share this up, not necessarily an update, but the things that we brought up with the machine learning team were just a few, like, here's some of the hottest ones that we feel could best improve how the recruitment tool works. One thing that we realized, sending out invitations has zero visibility to the clans who send the invites. There's just no status update, no method of tracking, no confirmation of receipt. You send it out and it just goes off into the void, hoping that the player responds, but there's no feedback from that. So getting some kind of visibility improvement, I think, would go a long way to at least improve the invitation process. There's no way to determine if a player is actually looking for a new clan or just hasn't turned the settings off. So you don't know if a clan is looking for a player. So having some kind of setting for that would be nice.
I agree.
There's no way to determine if an invited player is active unless you actually visit their village, and that forces you to exit out of the search screen, invalidating your search results. That's a big one.
Yeah, like I've heard that one as well.
Yeah, that's a big UI or workflow failure on our part. There's just too many steps to determine if a player is active when you're searching. Language barriers, that's as we discussed. So there's no method to pre-screen whether or not an invited player speaks the same language or is even in the same time zone. And I remember early on, this was something that the team wanted to address. I just don't know if it's something that's in the works, but it is a it's from the Clash team to the machine learning team. It's one of our high priority requests. Same thing with, like, there's no expirations on sent invitations. If I sent an invite and a player doesn't respond to it for like 3 or 4 months, suddenly like a player joins, like, invited by so-and-so, I may not even remember even inviting that player, and suddenly this player jumps in, like, say, oh, so-and-so invited me. It's a very disjointing and jarring experience for both the player and the clan. I guess 2 more really hot topics. Using the recruitment tool should not be a new gaming experience in itself. It shouldn't take up that much of a player's attention. It should work seamlessly and not feel like it's a completely separate app. It should feel like it's just part of the game. And right now it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a chore, like, okay, we got to find new players, all right, I got to search this. So that's kind of a workflow improvement that we need to look at. And finally, there's no way for clans to advertise they're looking for players, and that's kind of I think a no-brainer. Like that was one advantage that global chat had, admittedly, that a clan could go on there and say, we're looking for this, and people could respond to that, even if there wasn't a way to even if, let's say, for example, let's hypothetically say that, you know, in global chat you couldn't pre-screen players. At least it was a place for clans to advertise they were looking for clanmates, and that's one thing that the recruitment tool is missing. So it would be nice for a way for clans to be able to advertise they're looking for players, even if that means like we create almost like a heyday like bulletin board for clans to advertise, hey, this clan is looking for X number of players at this town level for farming, for clan wars. Again, that's just a hypothetical idea or example of something that we can do.
I think anything that helps clans recruit, though, even if it is along those lines or something different, anything that does help with recruitment, but as you said, feels natural in the game, then that's got to be a positive for the community, because I do feel that's a big one. I know you went over a lot of different points, and I do feel it's going to help the community understand a little bit more about the recruitment tool. Cool. So I think that was quite an extensive answer on the recruitment tool. But the next kind of theme that was brought up quite a lot was friendly challenges, practice, and just a couple of questions on those. Again, I know they've been answered previously, but can we use our heroes for friendly challenge?
You mean while they're upgrading?
Yeah.
Right now, the team says no. This answer is going to upset a lot of people as far as the reason why. We feel it's a slippery slope, that if we allowed it for friendly challenges, okay, we now allow it for friendly challenge. Okay, now why can't you allow it for this? Okay, well then why can't you allow it for this? Well then why can't you allow it for that? And then basically allowing it to do, creating one exception over the others systematically does require a bit of extra programming. It does have to change the way the hero upgrade system works. While it would be nice to have, and we understand the reasoning behind it, we do want the gaming experience to be as similar as possible to like Clan Wars and the way the game is supposed to be played. I don't want to say I hate using the word or the phrase "we don't see the value behind it," because that's not necessarily true. And I'll be candid, people like the use of Book of Heroes and gemming has very little to do with this at all. We want it. We've always had the idea that deciding to upgrade your hero is a tactical decision.
Okay.
That just like upgrading a defense, it's a tactical decision. It's that risk versus reward. That okay, I can upgrade the hero, and the end result is something more powerful. But the risk is that I have to face having it down for a time and facing the consequences of that action. So it's a risk versus reward, not necessarily an argument, but
yeah,
conundrum.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to add to that. You kind of came with two separate answers, and I fully understand the UI and having to implement that. Personally, I feel the easy cutoff is it's a friendly challenge, it's a friendly war. That's the cutoff. I should be allowed to use my heroes in friendlies because it's a friendlies, but there's an easy cut that there's a reward for an actual war. So that's why you're not allowed to use them. With regards to the UI though, that kind of pulls in a separate thing in that, is it worth it to do that just for friendly challenge, I think is more the topic. And also there's got to be a consensus between the team, right? Like I'm just giving you my opinion, but you have to get a consensus from everybody. Like
me personally, I'm not the most astute designer, and there's a reason why I'm not a designer and I'm a community manager. I don't have the tactical brain to think about in-depth game design. I just don't have the brain for it. So I could be missing something when I say I see no problem with it. I don't see any issue with being able to have them available for friendly wars. But that's just my personal opinion, and I'm not a designer, and there is something I could be missing that I'm not being able to see that the designers do see that may not be able to work or may not be a long-term, a sustainable long-term solution. I just don't know.
Yeah, but I think that's an interesting point though, because people do have to realize that not everything is as simple as it seems. I'm not a game coder either, so I just have no clue how much time it would take, but whatever time is invested into doing that, how much time does that deflect away from new content? And I guess it's always that balance the team has to have of, do we actually go down the route of putting the time in to make this? Because there's a lot of things I would love in Clash, but new Town Hall 14 versus, these little quality of life changes, there has to be a balance, I guess.
And I mean, here's the thing, it's not a matter of we can't do it. We could. I mean, I don't know how difficult it would be to do, but it's something that could be implemented if the will to do it was there. But it would take away, from some of the more exciting content we're working on.
Yeah, and I see that. Another question that gets asked a lot, and I feel this is going to be a similar answer, but just for clarity for the viewers. Attacking your own base. Clearly you would need a 24-hour cooldown, but is that something that could ever be implemented? Like
the previous answer, there's two parts to this.
Okay.
One, Clash of Clans is a social game, not a single-player game. While there are, there's the Goblin map and the practice map for single-player content, but ultimately it's meant to be a social game. And we're not going to change our stance on the social aspect of it. That's why there's not a dedicated, more PvE type of mode for the game. So we felt like attacking your base is just more of that kind of PvE mentality. But in the second part of this, I understand that sometimes you want to attack a base and none of your clanmates are online, and that's one hypothetical. And so how if you put the same restrictions in as doing a friendly challenge with your own clan, you can't change the base more than 24 hours. What's the difference? The same restrictions apply because from a psychological, and there's going to be a lot of detractors and disagreements from this one. The reason why we implemented the 24-hour restriction in the first place, as you're well aware, is to prevent people from copying enemy bases and using that to practice. It's already difficult enough where, like, if I was in a full clan of 50 people, if I was a pro player, I wanted to game the system and cheat by copying bases, I would have, let's say you're in my clan, Judo.
Okay.
I would have practiced against your base. Then I'm going to go through it. Let's say all these people that I'm about to name are in my clan. So then I attack Itsu's base. Then I attack Klaus's base. Then I attack Sumit's base. So each one of these gives me an opportunity to practice against another base, even if you change one thing. And that, so by each one of you just doing variants of the same base, it allows me to kind of hypothetically bypass a 24-hour limit by just attacking 50 other variants of the same base. So by allowing it to attack your own base, that's just adding one more onto the pile. So we're trying to keep that reduced as possible, and while trying to still maintain that social aspect of the game. I get why players would want to be able to practice against their own base. Let's say I just designed this really cool layout, and I want to see how it fares against my own attack style. We get that. We totally understand the reasoning behind it. We just have to look at the worst case scenario on how people would abuse it. And right now, the ends don't outweigh the means, or it's the other way around. The means don't outweigh the ends.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying.
I from someone heavily involved in the esports scene, I fully, agree with that. And I'd never thought about it in that regard. I do a lot of videos talking with my community, and I was always kind of against the attacking your own base. From talking with my community, just to let you know, one thing that was commonly asked, a point raised from their perspective, was if somebody, like, let's say even all of their clanmates were online, but no one was strong enough to attack their base. They can't test or gauge its strength if nobody else in their clan is at that level. So I think that was a big factor from my community when discussing this topic previously.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to both, and we could come up with a bunch of, like, infinite number of hypotheticals as to why it should be implemented and why it shouldn't. Both of them have merit. Like, I absolutely agree that there are a lot of good pros for having it in the game, and there's a lot of good cons for not having it in the game. And just right now, the cons outweigh the pros for us.
Okay, there you go. On the topic then of practicing, I know I told you, Darian, I had a lot of questions. I've condensed them down. Winter Challenge, Hog Mountain Challenge. Big success. What are the plans for these in the future? Are we doing more?
We're never going to do any of them ever again. That was it. That's just two. No. The Winter Challenge, I don't want to say it was created on a whim, but it was kind of a fun idea that just had some trajectory and took off really quickly. We really enjoyed the development process. We loved play testing it internally. We loved seeing the strategy videos from you guys about how to beat it. And that was our favorite part. Like, there were so many different videos on how to beat it, and like even we were going like, wow, we didn't even think about that one. And so we knew we wanted to do it for the Lunar New Year one. Both times the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and so you can definitely expect more in the future.
Yeah, and just as a side note, I would like to take my hat off to the team, because I think you've really done a good job getting the challenges perfect. I don't know, maybe I'll flash this up on the screen. People might not have seen this, but the Clash of Clans Twitter account did a poll on whether it was spot on, too hard, too easy, and it was virtually down the line. You really hit that perfect mix for players. Obviously, the pro players are going to be able to beat it easier than, your average player, but I feel like you really strike the balance perfect with them. And for me, I think it's great to be able to see the new scenery, see the new items within that. So I think it's ideal.
That, and one of the interesting byproducts of it is a lot of players would start looking up how to beat it on YouTube, and it had the inadvertent effect of introducing a lot of players to various meta strategies that they may have not have been familiar with before. So a lot of the content creators were saying like, oh, you can use this strategy to beat this base, and that basically helped improve the gaming education of a lot of attackers.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you guys for that.
Oh, no, I mean, they are so fun to cover. Yeah. And I'm someone that loves, similar to you, seeing all of the different ways that people beat it. I have to watch everybody's video, and it always fascinates me as to the differences that people come up with that I'd never thought of, and then you see all of these swag competitions on social media with, oh, I beat it without the spells, or have you thought about adding some sort of leaderboard to the challenges as well? I know for Boom Beach, they had a similar thing in it, and that had a leaderboard.
That's an interesting idea. And I only say that because I don't know if it's something that's been pitched to the team, but I think that's a really cool idea. So if it hasn't already been brought up, I will definitely make a mention of it in our team meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I personally like the swag competitions, but I think that would be hard to to put on a leaderboard. It would probably have to be how quick you beat it, so long as you got the 3 stars. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool in itself. So awesome. I'm glad to hear that the challenges are a big success and that, we'll see some more of them.
There's definitely more coming.
Perfect. Another big topic that was raised, I'm sure you have seen this as well within the community, was the low town hall pushing scene. There's a lot of people asking for new ways of helping with that, and I'll let you take the floor. I'm personally not sure how on earth you could do that, but yeah, any plans?
I know that question came from Sumit, so
it was actually asked. He did ask that on Twitter, but I actually got this question probably about 10 times on my YouTube comments. And that's why I've purposely haven't mentioned people, because I mentioned one person that asks the question and somebody else feels left out, but I've taken the main themes. But I was surprised at how often this was asked alongside kind of something else that was asked on the trophy scene as well. But I thought I'd ask that first.
The short answer is no, we're not going to do that. The long answer is, if we created a separate town hall bracket, a trophy bracket for each, whether it's each town hall level or we grouped in 7, 8, and 9, we grouped them into town hall groups of 3 just for cases of this discussion, where if a town hall 7, 8, or 9 wanted to push, then it would only be for town hall 7, 8, or 9. The number of bases that would become available at higher trophy levels would be so small that they'd basically be attacking the same person over and over and over and over and over again. So the higher you went, the lower the population would be. It would either result in clouding issues if we didn't create a new system like a Legend League, where it just gives you a snapshot of the same of 8 bases every day, or even if we did like a new Legend League system where it took a snapshot. If you're a Town Hall 7, let's say, and I don't know what the numbers are, but the numbers are so incredibly small that I would be surprised if each day you got different opponents. The number of Town Hall 7s in Legend League are so small that it would get boring because you're attacking the same people over and over and over again. On top of that, the logistics of creating multiple leagues or Town Hall levels, that goes against what Clash is about. Clash is about conquering difficult bases and finding those challenges and overcoming them. If you've got the skill as a Town Hall 7 to get the Legend League, more power to you. But the game was designed where those leagues were meant to be populated by higher Town Hall levels. That's one of the draws of moving up progression, is that you get placed into a league that is much more appropriate based on your relative strength and your relative attacks.
I figured that was going to be the answer. That's generally how games work in terms of progression. The reason I ask this question now, though, is I always try and, when I do these styles of videos, I often check in with my community and see what they, would like in the game and have a bit chat with them. And I always try and see it from their perspective, the game's perspective, and give my own opinion. So what I was thinking is, similar to the challenges, maybe we could have more leaderboards, and that could be toggled between town hall levels. That way they do have some sort of goal and they get some sort of recognition, because I feel that's more what they're after rather than a separate league, if I'm not mishearing them. So potentially something like that, or...
I guess to add to that, one of the best compromises would be a leaderboard with filters.
Yeah.
So if I want to search globally where I stand, or trophy where I stand, or by town hall level, I can see that as a compromise to this. And you have to forgive me, as you've been talking, I've actually been typing this down here as notes to the dev team. And I don't know how feasible something like that would be, but it is a good compromise and good suggestion.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of leaderboards, so I feel like that could be something. The other main topic, and again, I was actually shocked how often this was asked, but legend trophies. It's really just a number on your profile. Are there any plans to do anything with legend trophies?
What more do you want, Nob? Getting to Legend League in itself is meant to be the bragging rights. The destination is the reward. It would have to be I guess the reply question would be what more are they looking for from it? Are they looking to spend trophies, and does that knock them back down, kind of thing? Or
I think that's more what the question. I think that's more what the question was going towards, if they could spend them on any resources. Personally, I think maybe even just a skin, a hero skin. If you hit Legends League, you can purchase a legend hero skin, and we have a legend set or something like that. But yeah, it was a question that was asked quite a bit, so just
it would be nice to give more visual swag for attaining Legend League status. I don't know if we're happy with giving purchasable in-game stuff like resources or stuff like that by using trophies, because it would be unfair to people who aren't in Legend League, that if they couldn't do the same and spend trophies. trophies, and we never saw trophies as a resource for spending anyway. So that would be a kind of a design philosophy that we'd have to change if we wanted to implement something like that. But I'm totally on board with, like a Legend League skin or like a Legend League scenery or a Legend League decoration. I think there is one, isn't there? Legend League decoration. No, that's a Clan War League decoration.
Yeah, I was going to say it's along the same lines as the Clan War League stuff, isn't it? And again, from my personal opinion here, I would prefer something like that because it means I'm not then forced to be in Legends League. I can freely farm wherever I want, and I don't feel like I'm cheated from not being in Legend League. But that's just my perspective. Obviously, it was asked a lot from the community, so that's kind of why I brought it up.
Unless we deny access to the skin if you fall out of Legend League. No. You want to use it, you have to stay in the Legend League. That's the cost. That's the sacrifice.
Kind of linking in with that because I went through and tried to, theme the questions in a way that seemingly went from one to the other. The Clan War League shop, obviously similar to what people were asking with Legends, but there were a lot of questions on why all of the items aren't available in the Clan War League shop. Like a lot of magic items aren't in there, and there were a couple specific that people were asking for, but is there a reason that there's only set items in there?
You mean like why aren't there books?
Books, and the other main one was actually the Shovel of Obstacles. A lot of people were asking about that.
I don't know why the shovels aren't in there. I'd have to ask one of the designers on that. It's a good one. But the exclusion of books was a very specific and intentional decision to leave them, exclude them. Mainly because, admittedly, it would be a much more tempting, because obviously the books would be cheaper than the hammers. So it would be a much more tempting prospect to buy the books than buy the hammers because you could buy more of them over time. Additionally, when you got the resources from the War League, if you could buy a book of heroes, a lot of times you get so many resources that you can just immediately start an upgrade right after that. So use resources to upgrade the hero or start the upgrade, buy a book to finish the upgrade of the hero, then buy a hammer immediately right after that.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and that's not the workflow that we had in mind. We wanted the hammers to be the exclusive magic item for the Clan War Leagues. It was very intentional that we wanted only those magic items in the league shop.
Figured that was the answer. On the Clan War Leagues, I don't want to delve into this too much. It's not unreasonable to think that it was asked, the mismatches. Can you just give people an explanation as to why the mismatches happen and if there's anything you're likely to change or not?
So I think there is a misuse of the word mismatch. There is no matchmaking system in the Clan War League. It's not like the Clan Wars. If you were to do a search in a Clan War, it looks at your clan's relative strength, meaning how strong your base is, how strong your troops are, and it gives you kind of an aggregate score based on that. And it looks at the entire clan and it tries to match another clan against that score. I mean, you're familiar with how that works, right, Judo?
Yeah.
Most Clan War veterans will understand how the normal Clan War matchmaking system works. With the Clan War Leagues, there is no strength-based matching. It is purely performance-based, meaning where you are in the league is based on your wins and losses each season. If I'm a clan of nothing but Town Hall 13s and I have the worst losing streak ever, and this is a true story about my clan, we just went through a really bad losing streak, and I get knocked down to one league below, there could have been a clan of like Town Hall 10s and 11s and maybe a few 12s who had a really good streak and moved up to our clan. I'm not being intentionally matched against them. Like there's no system that's matching me against them based on strength or how good each Town Hall level is. It is only looking at they won, we lost, we got grouped in the same league. Because we're now in the same league, we're going to have to fight each other. Now, from my clan's perspective, I see, oh, cool, Town Hall 10s and 11s. This is going to be an easy win. From their perspective, they're like, oh my God, we're outmatched. They're Town Hall 13s. This is going to suck for us. And that's an understandable feeling. But from a design perspective, what that meant was from a performance perspective, they climb as far as their clan can take them based on the strength of their clan. My clan was brought down as low as we should go until we start winning again.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately a self-balancing system where the clans of Town Hall 13s, as long as they're playing to the best of their ability, they're going to stay at a certain relative level of certain clans, where clans of Town Hall 10s and 11s, or Town Hall 9s and 10s, because they can only climb so high, they're going to remain around here based on how strong their clans are. Now, are there going to be exceptions to that? Yeah, there's going to be really good 9s, 10s, and 11s that may climb really high, just like there are really good Town Hall 7s who can get the Legend League. But that's not going to be the norm. That's not going to be the everyday clan. And it's designed to be that self-leveling system like that. So it's not like we hate using the word mismatch. There's nothing that's pairing the clans based on that town hall strength, purely based on how well one clan did versus how badly another clan did in another instance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I did a whole separate video on this. I'll be sure to link it wherever the card section is right here, because I also talked about how the trophies that are given out are purposely leveled, whereby there is absolutely no benefit to being in a lower league. You actually get pretty much the same trophies as losing in the above league, so there's no benefit for people to purposely drop. But
exactly.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. It is something that's talked about a lot, so I did want to throw it in there for people that, potentially hadn't heard that previously.
Yeah.
The other thing that I heard quite a lot was building upgrade times for the base, but in specific, the main one I always hear about is the lab. Now, people often ask for a second lab. I know that's not really going to happen. What is the solution? Are you going to try and keep speeding it up, separate tabs, so people can upgrade troops and spells? Another suggestion that I seen, which is what I referenced earlier, somebody mentioned like a wizard that would move from the builder base to the home village, so you could upgrade either 2 in your builder base or the home village, or, I guess I'm waffling a little bit, but are there any plans with regards to that? It seems a topic that's asked a lot.
We don't have any plans to change it. So from a design philosophy perspective, we have kind of 2 drivers. One is, progression and content is always king on the Clash of Clans team, meaning, the introduction of new content is always the biggest driver of getting players to play Clash. It's the thing that, new content is what makes veteran players come back. It makes us excited. But if you take a poll amongst all the millions of Clash players out there, the number one thing that gets players coming back is that sense of progression. The idea of, when I hit upgrade, when I come back after X amount of time, these heroes are going to be stronger, or these troops are going to be stronger, or the spells are going to be more powerful. That's always the primary thing that keeps players coming back. However, there have to be systems of limitations of how long things take. So we have to balance it of allowing players to progress quickly, but it can't be so quick that they run out of content within a certain amount of time. And these are very data-driven things that we look at. Like, we've got mounds and mounds of data that we look at on what is the ideal rate of progression without it becoming so frustrating that players quit, versus if it's too easy and it's too quick, it actually bores people, and it actually, like, you find players actually do quit when it's too easy to progress. So we have to tactically and scientifically look at where do we put the brakes on things to slow that progression down, to keep it challenging. Now, we added magic items to help speed those things up, but those are exceptions to the rule. We've reduced upgrade times multiple times over the past, but we have no change the lab system, because we have to have those certain slowdowns in place.
Yeah, agreed. And I believe that's why the 3 loot limit, if I said that right, is in the builder base as well, to force the brakes on the progression. Otherwise, people could just blast through all of the content in, well, maybe not a couple of days, but you get the idea.
That, and before, the builder base was meant to be just like something you did on the side while waiting for troops to be building.
So it sounds like, to answer the question for people, the lab system itself is not going to be changed, but probably over time things would continue to get sped up.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Cool. The other main topic, before we go through a bit of a quick fire round, I tried to answer everybody's questions, like all of the different themes. So big thank you to Darian for sticking around for so long. You can show him some love in the comments. But there were a lot of questions of, can we have a new game mode, this, that. But the one that I seen suggested more than any others was a tournament system, whether it was a clan or a 1v1 tournament in the game. So not just one war, but multiple wars that would be put together as a system.
Are you talking about like community run tournaments within the game, or just an overall like competitive?
I guess like from what I understood from what people were asking, obviously the YouTube comments and the Twitter comments were just text, so you can't always get full appreciation of what they're trying to say, but it sounded like like a single elimination bracket almost that people would sign up to, and it would be wars, just regular war rules, whether it be, X a number of players or just 1v1, and it would be a single elimination bracket of, I don't know, let's say 8 clans that they would move through this new game mode as a tournament system.
Basically like a competitive challenge mode.
Yeah.
I see no problem. I like it. Now, so creating a system, so keep in mind that Clash of Clans was created 9 years ago, or almost 9 years ago. God, we're coming up on 9 years this summer. when Clash was created, remember, Clan Wars wasn't even in the game when it was released.
Yep.
That was something that was tacked onto the game much later. Like, I think it was like a year or two before Clan Wars were added.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years because the game had been out about 8 or 9 months when I started playing, and I think I was playing a good nigh on a year, I would think, before Clan Wars came out. So yeah, it was quite a while.
And it's one of the most, I mean, it's in the name, Clash of Clans. So the defining feature of the game wasn't even added until 2 years later. We only added Clan War leagues a couple of years ago. So the game was never designed for that perspective from the start. We've had to make so many changes to how the game functions to accommodate these kind of competitive systems. And the reason why I bring that up is that adding another, like let's say if it was a weekly cadence where every Friday player signed up for, like, it's this week's competitive challenge and it's a 1v1 type of thing, and if you lose 3 times you get kicked out of it kind of thing. I think something like that could be cool, but implementing a system like that and a new database to keep track of all it, it's incredibly time consuming. Like, we worked on the Clan War League system for years before we implemented it. Like, it was something that we it was a good couple years in development. Like, I think it was starting in development when I first started at Supercell, and that was in 2017, and we didn't implement it until 2019, I think.
Wow, yeah, I didn't realize there was that long.
Yeah,
went
the
into
War League's
something like that.
Now, it wasn't like full-blown, full-steam development the entire time, but it was something that was gathered momentum as more people started working on it. Creating a competitive league is incredibly complex, incredibly difficult, and incredibly time-consuming. And like I admit, like, we just don't have time for that this year with what we have on our docket at the moment. I would love to see that kind of competitive, like 1v1 challenge, like where it's just individual challenge where like anybody can sign up, and it's not a clan war because it doesn't need the clan. Just every single person can sign up for it, and you're just paired off, and you just keep climbing until you do 3 losses or 1 loss or whatever it is, and then where you fall, what your rank is at the end of it determines what reward you get. I like that. I would love to see something like that. That would be really cool to see. We just don't have the bandwidth to do it right now.
I'd never even thought about it from that perspective. Similar to, I guess, the challenges in Royale or Brawl Stars have similar systems. That would be really cool. So again, I think it just comes back down to the time that you have available and what you're prioritizing. It sounds like we have really big updates coming this year. We can be excited about those.
Very big.
Fantastic. Well, I did want to go through a couple of quick fire questions because, again, I appreciate your time, but I did want to get through a lot of ones that kind of were a bit interesting as well, if you're okay with that. So
absolutely.
The first one I wanted to ask, because this is something I had never thought of. When I read it, I was instantly in love with the idea. Is there a thought that as we add more hero skins and sceneries, that there could be a random generation as to which one it would select, so that each time I logged in, I would just have a different hero skin and a different scenery? That'd be awesome.
I saw that. I've seen that idea a couple times, and I love it. I think it's a really cool idea, not knowing which hero skins are going to show up when I attack, basically like an iPod shuffle for skins kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've pitched to the clan. I've never gotten a response on it. I don't know how difficult it would be, but I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I guess we can keep our fingers crossed. The XP levels within the game, it doesn't really have much purpose. Is that likely to change, or is it kind of how it is?
For in the near future, it's unlikely to change. I don't know what it was added for in the first place. Right now, it's more swag than anything else, but it's not unlikely to change. We don't have anything planned for it at the moment.
Okay. Kind of side and side with that, the clan perks. I did have questions from both ends of the spectrum in terms of people that wanted more perks and also people that felt, can you accelerate it? They're stuck at the lower levels and they don't have the perks. So any thoughts on clan perks?
It's given that we've been shortening everything else as far as upgrade timers, it would be interesting if we could shorten the perks and encourage more clans to get to higher clan perk levels. That's an interesting idea. As far as new clan perks, it's something that we every new town hall update we work on, it always comes up. Apart from where they're at right now, we're not happy with any of the ideas that we've come up with.
Okay, well, that's a fair enough answer. The revenge system as well, that was brought up. Is there any ideas on the revenge system?
Same response as as the previous answer. We acknowledge that it needs work, that at lower town hall levels, it's a lot more functional, but at the higher town level, it's not as viable and not as good, and we would love to revise it. We're just not happy with any of the ideas that we've come up with.
Okay. Collecting different resources from your treasury. Let's say you just need gold. No, I knew that.
Flat out no.
It gets asked a lot.
Yeah, being able to collect all resources is a tactical decision.
I think you've explained with the game economy and things, haven't you? If I'm not mistaken, you talk about a lot of different stuff. The Supercell shop did have one or two people asking about merchandise. Are there any plans with regards to launching more merchandise?
That's entirely up to our merch and marketing team in San Francisco. Like, that's not done by the Clash team. I would love to see more merch. I kind of miss having all, like, I mean, you can see some of the swag back here. Goes back. The problem with making merch is that it is so expensive, and there are so many customs and shipping restrictions to be able to send stuff out. We're a gaming company. We're not a toy company. Having us do that kind of stuff, it became overly complex. But we are looking at other ways of creating more merch and creating new stuff.
Good to hear. I recently did a video with my community, as I've referenced earlier, and one topic that was brought up was the Book of Heroes at the end of the Silver Pass, and we had a bit of a discussion in my comments section, and many people suggested, have you thought about giving a book of everything so that people could choose what they upgrade? Is that something that could happen, or? That's
entirely up to our... So basically, the clan games rewards are based on a formula that our live ops manager looks at. Financial is the wrong way. We're more gem value, like what is the overall total value of all the gems that each item is worth, is a much more accurate way of looking at it. And we try to keep them within the same operative realm. And the Book of Heroes is, or Book of Everything strategically, is much more valuable than the other books. Because of it, we prefer to keep the Book of Everything as exclusive and rare as possible. Like it's rarely even in the Gold Pass.
Yeah.
And that's intentional by design because it's meant to be a rarity. So, and that's the same thing with the Rune of Dark Elixir. It's a rarity. Will they ever show up in the Silver Pass? I mean, it's entirely possible. Maybe like once every 1,000 years or so. Legend says like one will rise from the darkness or something like that and shows up. And if you missed it that month, oh well. But when it'll happen or if it'll happen, like, I have no idea. But I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's unlikely.
I've put this one in the quickfire questions because I don't want to go on forever and ever about it. But if you feel it warrants a greater answer, then be sure to do so, because I know you've answered this extensively. But voice chat or DMing your friends?
No.
Not coming for the same reasons as global, right?
Yep. It would negate the reasons why we removed global chat.
Yeah. And kind of to tag on to that, there were other questions on if players could see other people that were online. And I believe that's a similar answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Security reasons, you've kind of already give that. Like privacy reasons, I think you'd said previously. In-game stats, could we ever see more in-game stats, such as how many defenses we've taken down, how many troops we've used, or is that something that hasn't been tracked, so it would be completely off, if that makes sense?
I've actually pitched this one to the team. Like, I remember seeing the suggestion a few weeks ago. Like, it would just be cool to see, like, how many barbarians have I used? How many Town Hall 13s have I killed? Things like that. One of the issues is, it wouldn't be a realistic amount, because if we added it now, we haven't been keeping track over the last 9 years. So if it would start from the point we implemented and the people are okay with that, it is something we could do. How that would, tax the database, I don't know. But if they were wanting to see over a lifetime, like, we just haven't been tracking that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I figured that was the answer anyways. Name change in terms of color of your name, is that something that could come similar to Brawl Stars and Clash Royale?
The color of your name?
Yeah, so the text could be a different color.
Right. We don't see the need for it.
I said it was a quick fire round. That's, fair dues. Just one or two others then. I figured this is going to be the answer, but your update schedule for this year, is it going to mimic previous years in that of 4 updates in, roughly at the end of every quarter?
Okay, when we say 4 times a year, that doesn't necessarily mean like at the end or start of every quarter. Look at it more seasonally.
Okay.
Like a spring update, a summer update, an autumn update, and a winter update. Using the quarter, like it's even though internally we kind of say like this is a Q1 update or Q2 update or Q3, we tend to look at them as far as release wise. This is our spring update. This is our summer update. Because if you look at Q2 is April, May, June. Q3 is July, August, September. But seasonally, June, July, and August is still part of the summer season, and we prefer to call it our summer update. So we do plan on having 4 seasonal updates per year, and that's pretty much a normal cadence for us as far as major content releases.
Okay.
We'll still have like intermittent updates in between. Like we might do like a small update here, some balance changes there, some rewards changes here, stuff like that. And those updates will we don't consider those major content updates. Major content updates are like new town hall, a new troop, a new spell, or a new whatever, new super troops. We consider those major updates, and the cadence of that 4 times a year is still on track, and that's going to be a regular thing for us.
Cool. Well, thanks for clarifying that. Again,
at least that's the goal. Let me that's the goal.
Okay.
It's not a guarantee.
You do have to be careful at the specific words that you use. So yeah, again, I want to be conscious of your time, so thank you again for going over all of the questions from my community, but I do have one that I wanted to leave. There were questions similar to this asked in different ways in terms of where the Clash focuses, whether it's different regions, different levels, new players, so-called end game, but what is the team's focus moving forward, and how do you plan to keep Clash relevant in the current times with many mobile games coming out each and every year?
I guess that's the $1 billion question.
Yeah.
That Clash is a game that's unprecedented in its longevity and success. When Clash came out 9 years ago, it took the mobile world by storm. It was a perfect formula. It was a unique game with unique gameplay on a platform that was ready, with a player base that was ready for it. Just like certain PC games have had that same effect. For like the MMO world on PCs, that was World of Warcraft. It came out at the right time, the right place, and it's now still, it's been, wow, it came out in 2004. I'm old. And like each platform has had those immortal cultural icons. And for mobile, the first major success was Clash of Clans. So we're in unprecedented, uncharted territory as far as, where do we go from here? Where do we go next? And there's no formula. If there was a formula to it, everybody would be doing it. And Clash of Clans wouldn't have the same kind of standout success that it has compared to if everybody could do it.
Yeah.
As far as what's the game's focus from here? Our focus is always going to be on new content and constantly releasing new content. That's always going to be our primary driver, as I mentioned earlier. Content is king. Are we going to introduce new game modes? Possibly. I don't know. Are we going to introduce, new Town Hall levels? Yeah, you can pretty much guarantee that we're going to have new Town Hall 14, 15, 16. As long as the game is around, there's going to be new Town Hall levels. But what we won't change is how the game fundamentally plays, meaning it's going to be, a city building and attack the enemy's city type of game. That's never going to change. That's what Clash is. It's not going to become a first-person shooter. It's not going to be a card-based game. It's not going to be all these different kind of mini games added onto it. Clash of Clans is,
Clash of Clans.
It is what it is, and that's going to be the core of it, and that's never going to change.
Personally, I'm really glad to hear that because, you have your core values, and that's why the game is what it is, and people have fell in love with Clash of Clans, and we don't want a different game. So I feel like that was a perfect answer, actually, Darian. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Is there anything else? I feel I've already eaten up so much of your time, but is there anything else that I potentially missed that you wanted to share? I know you seeing the Twitter post that I put out and things like that. So anything else you wanted to cover that I potentially have missed?
I had a really witty, punny question that I wanted to ask earlier in this discussion, and I completely forgot what it is. And yeah, I can't remember it, but you know me, I love cracking jokes. So
we'll have to get you back on the show sometime in order to
I always love to come back.
Well, thank you so much again, Darian. I can't thank you enough for the time, and I'm sure the community will be very happy that you've gone over all of the different points. I appreciate it has taken a little while, but thank you again for joining me. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure, dude.